on looking at how is talent identified and when do we decide who is talented. So it may be via drills, tests, interviews to assess their abilities in relation to prospective professional careers. It may be an evaluation of the player's medical conditions and overall character. Attempts to assess and predict the talent of adult athletes, and attempting to identify athletic talent in children. So do we do it at adult age? Do we do it in childhood? Do we use testing? Do we use evaluation? Well, we talked about at the start of this session on talent. What is talent? Is all the kind of instrumental things that make those abilities, and I guess some of those things will impact whether it's the tactical, physical, the cognitive, the psychological. All of those things will need to be considered when identifying talent. So focusing on the natural abilities of a person as an indicator, talent selection is based on the performance on tests in terms of general abilities. Could be looking at their speed and coordination. Examples of this natural ability testing could be seen in athletes such as Boris Becker and Steffi Graf. It could be another way of comparing of an expert or a near expert compared to novice to identify skills that differentiate between that performance level. So maybe looking at the elite level athletes in a certain sport, the near experts and the novices, and what skills and characteristics they have as performers, and how we can relate that back into testing our athletes. So skills can then be tested during talent selections to differentiate between talented and less talented. The other way is through obviously talented athletes are invited to selection teams and further develop their skills towards expertise. So you can imagine if you're a talented performer and you're in a pool of people who are all at a lower level, you may not be pushed to reach your full potential. Where by inviting athletes to compete with other talented athletes, what we're doing is making them motivated and strive to increase their performance and potential. So we've discussed that, in terms of looking at talent ID. And I guess the kind of key, really kind of sticking point in terms of research and information on talent ID is, how do we actually assess talent ID in children? Is there a way of predicting, from a child to an adult who is going to be that successful adult athlete? So it's a really complex process to identify athletic talent in children. So undergoing the greatest physical, psychological and social changes in their lives, how can we identify through that stages of growth, maturation and development that they're going to be that, athlete of the future? It's really hard to predict in sport, and it means almost being able to tell the future. And there's no actual map or guide to actually, any kind of definitive scientific based research that, states this is the definitive answer of how we need to identify talent. So I guess some key fundamental questions to, if you're working with talented athletes is, where is she now, or where is he now? Does he or she look like a future champion? And then do we have the tool to identify and help him or her to become that potential champion? So I'd like you to complete the following task and actually relate it to your experiences, or maybe if you're a coach, relate it to experience of somebody you've coached who is a talented performer. So think about your early experiences in terms of physical activity in other areas. Did you recognise any special talents you seem to have? Did you others recognise these talents in you? Or do you think they were overlooked as a talent? Consider how your talent was developed or not developed, and identify what you can learn from your own personal experience of talent identification and development. So were you missed out? Were your skills not developed? Did you not have the opportunities? Or did you get all those things and maybe you didn't reach your certain potential because you were lacking in certain areas? So spend a few minutes actually going through in your mind, jotting your ideas down about your process, or maybe someone you've worked with in terms of their kind of talent ID, talent development.